Standard technical interviews are a lot like dating. Every company has a different vibe, and if you aren't prepared for the format, it could be really awkward. In my career, I've seen it all, but 90% of the time, it boils down to three specific formats. Today, we're breaking down the take home, the live session, and the technical conversation. We'll look at why companies use them, why candidates love or hate them, and how you can actually ace each one. So to get started, we're going to talk about the first one, which is the take-home project. Now, this is personally my favorite, and I know that's a little bit of a hot take because a lot of people I know don't like this one for various reasons. So the take-home project is the vibe on this one is low pressure, high effort. So the pros are you get to use your own environment. You can Google things freely. You can read documentation. You can show how you actually work. The con, these typically come with a 4 hour time limit. Now, 4 hours is just an arbitrary amount of time I came up with from my experience. But typically they'll say something like, "Hey, this should only take you 2 hours, or this should only take you 4 hours." That's a lie. You're going to end up spending your entire weekend on this thing, and you're going to be working like right up to the wire to get this thing done. Because the reality is, especially if this is a coding project for like a software engineering position, you're really going to want to like polish this thing up. So my tip for this is to focus on clean code, focus on documentation. So remember that they're not just looking at the logic, they're going to look at your professional standards, how you write your code, do you document your code, do you write tests, things like that. So be sure to focus on those things as well. The second one that we're going to talk about is the live coding session. Now, this is personally my least favorite. I hate these types of interviews. It's typically going to be something like Leak Code or some sort of algorithm challenge. The vibe on these are high pressure and performative. You typically, again, have a time limit. Maybe it's 1 hour, maybe it's 2 hours, depending on how many challenges they give you. And it's probably going to be like proctored. So maybe the hiring manager is watching you, you're sharing your screen, and you're working through these problems. So the pros on this one is it's over really quickly, right? Like you do the 2 hour time limit is like a hard limit. And so there's no homework afterwards. Like you do need to prepare, you need to study, get ready as best you can, but once it's over, it's over. The con, obviously, and this is my big problem, is my experience with a lot of these is that solving these problems, either on a whiteboard or on some online platform while somebody watches you from the other side of the webcam, not only is it like intimidating and it just feels weird, but it's not real world coding, right? Like my experience with these has been most of the time when I get these challenges, the interview is actually a lot harder than the job ever is, right? Like you get these really high pressure interviews where they're asking you to do these really crazy things with algorithms and all this database queries and blah 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 whatever, and then you get the job and it's like, okay, well, we need you to build these WordPress sites, or we need you to do these like, React whatever. So that's my big issue with this. A tip on this would be to talk out loud and remember that, or assume that the interviewer cares more about your thought process than a perfect technical solution, right? And that's really big. That's a key that a tip that I use throughout my interviews and throughout my career is the thought process and the communication behind the decision is usually is a good indicator of your troubleshooting skills and your development skills. So we get to the last one, which is the technical conversation. And I've learned to like this one more and more over the years as I've grown more confident in my skills and as I've built my resume. So the vibe on this one is high level, architectural, and collaborative. It feels more like a peer-to-peer discussion if things go well. There's usually no trick questions. It's kind of more of like, how would you build this? Or can you explain a time where you've done this in the past? So if you're a doer but not a talker, this can be a bit of a problem. It's easy to sound like you maybe don't know the deep technical details. And if you don't have a lot of relevant experience in the areas that they're asking you about, it could be a little bit challenging. So I always try to come up with these projects ahead of time because they are going to ask you questions like, can you explain a project that you've done recently where you use this technology or you implemented this thing? So even if it's just like a personal project or something that is small, you don't have to give the full scope of the project, but you do want to kind of hit on those key points that they're asking for. And you really do want to make sure that you talk about the why behind your choices. That's really big on these. Why did you make the decision that you made? Can you back it up? Can you understand, even better than that, can you understand the trade-offs of your decision? Do you understand that there are trade-offs in engineering? And yes, this is not the perfect solution. Yes, this is not an optimal solution, but I went with it because of cost. I went with it because of ease of getting developers up to speed, etc. So remember those things. Those are really key for these types of interviews. And at the end of the day, no interview process is perfect, but understanding the why behind these formats makes them a lot less intimidating. So I'd love to hear, which one do you actually prefer? And let me know in the comments, because I'm pretty sure we all have a LeetCode horror story to share. And I know I certainly do. I've got one that's going to be coming up here. I'm going to be putting out a video about that very soon. So drop me some love in the comments, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.